have back problems holding all this weight on her shoulders.
Yeah,
Because
everything I've read, she's like it's one of the best acting jobs in a horror movie in a while.
yeah, she better, if there's any justice in the world, she better get fucking some, big leading roles after this. And of course, horror with the Academy and award ceremonies in general usually gets glossed over, but hopefully, maybe some nominations. I don't know.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
We're talking about The Mummy. It's from 1999. It's rated PG-13. It's an action thriller, technically. And it runs at 2 hours and 4 minutes, and it's got a 61 on Rotten. Written and directed by Stephen Sommers, starring Rachel Weisz, Brandon Fraser, Arnold Vaslow, Oded Fehr, John Hannah, Patricia Velasquez, John J. O'Connor, and Jonathan Hyde. The film, largely set in 1923, follows a librarian and Egyptologist, Evelyn, and her brother Jonathan, as they set out to find the city of the dead, Hamunaptra, with a key and Hamunaptra. All of those, that's going to be the death of me, man. Can't remember, but with a key in the map, they quickly realize that they will need someone with more experience, swiftly saving an ex-soldier turned treasure seeker, Rick O'Connell, from certain death and recruiting him for an adventure of a lifetime, which eventually turns deadly after they accidentally wake up an ancient cursed priest who's dead set on resurrecting the love of his life. The Mummy had been trying to get off the ground for years, coming in contact with lots of different writers and directors, including George A. Romero and Clive Barker. In 1997, director Stephen Sommers pitched his treatment of reinventing the Universal Monsters premise and revamping it with a more lighthearted, fun, and romantic vibe. Universal was thoroughly impressed and greenlit the project, even giving Sommers a bigger budget, going from $10 million to $80 million. It's hard to imagine anyone else in the role of Rick O'Connell besides our beloved Brandon Fraser, but the film's producers initially wanted someone with more star power. Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Tom Cruise, and Ben Affleck were all offered the role, but they turned it down for one reason or another. Director Stephen Sommers was very happy with the casting of Brendan, as he was exactly the type of personality he had written the part for in the first place. The film production began in mid-year of 1998 and lasted 17 weeks and was largely shot in Morocco because of the harsh political circumstances of Egypt during that time. With the ever-increasing desert heat, the crew were permitted to take drink breaks every 2 hours, with the medical team concocting a special electrolyte drink to help prevent the film's team and stars from suffering dehydration. There were much more natural dangers than just the heat to worry about, with many of the crew having to be airlifted to a hospital after encounters with various snakes, scorpions, and spiders. Not to mention the near-fatal accident, including a noose and Mr. Brendan Fraser, which we'll get into later. The Mummy opened on May 7, 1999, originally slated for a May 21st opening. Universal decided to bump up the release to avoid being overshadowed by the Star Wars comeback to Phantom Menace. That's episode 1. The decision was undoubtedly the right move, crushing at the box office, collectively grossing an estimated $416 million against its $80 million budget. Overall, The Mummy isn't trying to break new ground or be something it's not, but acts more as a love letter to other classic adventure films, such as Indiana Jones or The Goonies. The Mummy knows it's a cheesy popcorn flick and totally leans into that fact, with its consistent one-liners and goofy hokiness, paired with an unimaginably effective score from one Jerry Goldsmith. The film does still incorporate its core love story, just like in the original Boris Karloff version, and does bring some spookiness with its choice to expose the mummy as an unstoppable monster, which lightly touches upon the body horror subgenre as well. The only thing that really holds the film back would be its reliance on CGI, which is in all honesty holds up way better than its two sequels. So with that being said, this gets 3.5 flesh-eating scarab bugs out of 5. Thank you.
Nice.
You can catch The Mummy and its sequels now streaming via Peacock. So, James.
Yeah.
What made you pick this for spooky season? And what does this film mean to you?
For me, in regards to spooky season, I know it's really not, it doesn't really fall into that wheelhouse. Maybe it's maybe you're kind of dipping your toe into some spooky stuff. And this film is not at all spooky, but at the time when I saw this, there were elements in it, scenes and stuff that really scared me. At that age, I want to say I was probably, this was 99?
Yes.
So I was either 9 or 10 when this came out. But yeah, this was, it's more of a nostalgic pick for me, and just the fact that there is a little bit of a spooky sense in it. I was able to, I feel like I was justified in picking this. At least that's how I see it. But yeah, man, this is more of a nostalgic pick for me. I just love it. Everything about it. I could watch this over and over. Once again, I'll get to annoy Alyssa by repeating every line in the movie, especially when they're reading from the book. And I know the incantations from it. But yeah, this is one of my top movies that I can watch over and over again. And yes, I think, like you said before, the only thing that kind of holds it back would be the CGI. And I think at the time it was kind of a popular thing for these movies to go into. They're like, hey, we got this new thing. It's like we can make things look super real, and we don't have to make a puppet or anything like that. It doesn't have to be practical anymore. Just scream at this tennis ball that will hang in front of you, and then we'll put in a scary monster in front of you later. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But that's pretty much the reason why I picked it, and why I have so much love for it. I think it's just a movie that I grew up watching once I saw it the one time in theaters. I actually have this on VHS, and I have it on DVD, and now I have it on digital. So yeah, very fun for me, at least. What did you guys think of this? I know it can't have been your first time for either of you watching this.
I mean, I think it's definitely like one of my all-time favorite fucking popcorn movies. Just throw it on, and everyone loves it. To this day, I still laugh at all the one-liners Brendan Fraser has in it. And just like you, like I can say them word for word too. But yeah, I just think it's just an all-around just good movie. Like obviously there's little things that they could have probably done better or whatever, but even the CGI, I know the CGI gets a lot of shit. But I don't think it's bad at all compared to the fucking second one, which is brutal.
With The Rock, he looks like a PS2 like cutscene. My dad took me to see this in the theaters. It was fucking awesome. But yeah, it's just one of those movies. It's just a great movie, just a good movie to always put on, and you never get tired of it. For me, at least the Egypt thing about it too, like I love anything to do with like Egypt and stuff like that. I've always wanted to go there someday. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's I'll be able to, check that off the bucket list one day. But I've always been fascinated with Egypt as a kid growing up. So I think that kind of helped as well.
And being 11-ish, 12, around 12, is about to turn 12, I think. And watching Rachel Weisz, like I always say, she's aging like a fine wine.
Yeah, It didn't hurt. How about you, Wes?
Obviously, this is 99. I didn't watch it I didn't get to see it in theaters like Ryan was lucky enough to do, but my grandfather did buy the VHS when it dropped, and we had it in our house for quite a few years. And I love this movie. I feel like they try to make movies like this nowadays, but they just don't necessarily hit the same. I think that it does what Scream was doing, where it is well aware of this genre that it's in, and it pokes fun at all the little tropes and everything throughout the film in itself.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's what keeps this relevant. And I do agree with Ryan in saying that the CGI, some of it's worse than others, but a lot of it does like hold up in the way that it doesn't really take away from when you're watching the movie. Maybe the little things here and there, but overall it still looks pretty good, considering that this is one of the first films to really go like full CGI in this way, like in an epic film like this. Of course, I've loved Brandon Fraser for pretty much my whole life because of Encino Man and Airheads and Blast from the Past. Like, he's done so much good stuff, but nothing of this caliber. So for the studio to take a chance and give him this shot, and for it to be so beloved, I feel like this shot him to superstardom, and he was so good. And I feel like if it had been anybody else, any of those other names I had said, maybe this movie wouldn't have the charm that it does, because I feel like it works because O'Connell is like, he feels like one of us, like a normal dude, you know what I mean? And in a lot of ways, I feel like he set up the archetype for Nathan Drake in the Uncharted franchise in a lot of ways. Like, if you play those games, it feels like his, Brandon's character from this movie. Do you guys agree with me on that one, or am I?
Oh yeah, dude, totally.
I didn't put those two together, but that makes sense now thinking about it.
Even his aesthetic, like his gun harnesses, his style, like everything, the one-liners, his overconfidence, his like weird kind of deadpan sense of humor. It all, like, those are all things that you can see in Uncharted. Even like his nimbleness and just the crazy ass shit that he's able to get away with in this movie is, and not to take away from Rachel Weisz, because she is amazing in this too. And I feel like this movie breaks down barriers for the time that it was released, where it's not just Brandon's movie. It's split down the middle, where Rachel Weisz as Evelyn is equally as important to the story, and they both save each other equally. And she's not playing just like this classic kind of damsel in distress, only, relying on him. She's portrayed in a light where she's super intellectual and very much can take care of herself in a lot of ways. So I really enjoy that. This is a good movie.
Yeah. I really, they really got the the misogynistic viewpoints, especially from, I believe it's the British guy who's helping out the other Americans when they're getting in their dig, and he's like, they're led by a woman. What does a woman know? And it's like, oh, you asshole! If you only knew, like, this lady's gonna save the world. because she knows how to freaking take that and